Welcome to Monday Morning Dharma, where we're starting our new series on the book In Love with the World. Really excited about this journey that we're going to take. This journey that we're going to take with this book that is about a journey that was taken by the author. But first things first, why don't we go ahead and settle in for some meditation. For our in-person folks, if you have questions about the status of your cell phone, like namely, is my ringer turned off? Now might be a good time to check. Um, Otherwise, let's settle in for some meditation. Most important feature of a good meditation posture is for our spine to be straight and relaxed. Straight spine facilitates unrestricted flow of our internal energy winds, sometimes called prana, sometimes called chi. Our mouth is closed, our jaw is relaxed. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and softly close your eyes. And to begin, I'd like you to please bring your awareness to the exhalation of your breath and very gently allow your exhalation to be just a bit longer and a bit more pronounced than your inhalation. Please feel free to experiment with pausing briefly at the bottom of each exhalation. This meditation technique will allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and to rest, to become quiet and still. Now is not the time to reflect on events that have occurred in the past. Those events, those events cannot be changed, undone, or recreated. Nor is this the time to speculate about events that may or may not occur in the future. The future is completely unknown to us at this time. Now is the time to be fully present here in this moment. Now is the time to give yourself full permission to enjoy engaging in a practice that's going to bring you a peaceful state of mind, thus creating the causes for you to experience a peaceful world. There is an aspect of the body that is referred to sometimes as the inner body. Some schools of meditation refer to it as the subtle body. And to come into contact with your inner body, I'd like you to please draw your awareness inside of your body and become aware of sensations. These sensations may start in your hands and your feet in the form of a tingling, perhaps a lightness, perhaps a heaviness, perhaps a pulsation. No analysis is necessary. There's nothing to figure out. Just be the silent observer of these sensations and allow a more tranquil, supple, awakened state of awareness to emerge. Moment by moment, day after day, the mountain simply observes silently. Rain may fall on the mountain or not. The wind may blow. The sun may shine. A small animal may run across a fallen log and then jump into hiding. The mountain simply observes silently. No judgment, no labeling, no comparing, no expectation. Be like a mountain as you silently observe sensations within your own body mountain. Now, please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of your physical body and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of your body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue sky beyond the clouds, of outer space beyond the blue sky. We dedicate all of the merit, all of the positive energy from this morning's meditation to world peace. May all beings, without exception, soon come to enjoy a state of perfect, complete fearlessness. May all beings, without exception, be completely free from all forms of emotional and physical suffering. May all beings, without exception, be happy, peaceful, contented, and free. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you and welcome back. So, we are starting a new book. We're starting a new book, In Love with the World by the Tibetan monk Yangye Mingyur. Um, uh, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we just finished a book called Training in Tenderness. And with that book, with that text, it was the first time I had read that book. So we went through it for the first time together over the previous several weeks. Um, I've read In Love with the World pretty recently. I would say I finished it maybe a year ago, and just loved the book In Love with the World. And one of the things I really like about this book is that, you know, it tells a really, like, for me, what was a spellbinding story. You know, it's about this monk who is born. So in Tibetan traditions of Buddhism, they will identify people who are said to be reincarnations of previous um, meditation masters, previous spiritual masters, and then they will identify those sort of ascended beings and then start training them. They'll go through a very rigorous training in the Kagyu tradition of Buddhism. They're called tulkus. And Yangye Mingyur was identified as being a tulku at a very young age, brought into the monasteries at age 9, and like grew up as a monk. And because of his recognition as being like an ascended master, if you will, he had a very structured, very insulated life. You know, this is going to be your routine for the day, and these are the studies that you're going to undergo, and this is going to be the meditation practice. And you're going to have these special teachers who are going to guide you and teach you, and these handlers, and just on and on. And, he, like, his life kind of wasn't really his own, we might say. It was sort of prescribed by the school of Buddhism that he was in. It sounds to us Westerners who are, all about liberty and freedom and doing it our way, that might sound a little bit unpleasant, but in Tibet, that's kind of how they did it. And actually, to be perfectly clear, he's Tibetan, but all of this took place, his being identified and, going into the monasteries and all of this was in India. So, yeah, because things in Tibet are different these days. But anyways, so he's always wanted, Yongey Mingyur has always wanted to do a like a wandering retreat, like to leave all of that responsibility and expectations and structure and security at some level, and just go into the world with just the clothes, literally the clothes on his back, and be a wandering mendicant, or what's referred to in India sometimes as a sadhu, sadhu, a sadhu, somebody who just is a spiritual being who just wanders through the world with his or her clothes on her back and nothing more, and just leads a spiritual life of extreme minimalism and meditation and service where possible. So he sneaks off in the middle of the night, right? Literally calls a cab to come pick him up outside of the monastery, and waits until the guard, they have guards around the monastery in some parts of the world. And, so like he waits until the guard is at the far end of his patrol route. And Yongey Mingyur like literally sneaks out of his monastery. Well, that doesn't sound, I mean, it doesn't sound too dramatic as I hear myself say it. It's not like a prison escape or, something like this, but I guess in some respects, it was a little bit of a prison escape for him. Throws his knapsack over the fence, slips through the gate, leaves a note telling everybody, I'm on my 3-year retreat. Don't try to find me. I'll be fine. And catches a cab to the train station, takes a train off to a destination several hours away. And thus the story begins. And one of the things that I really respect about this book and what really hooked me was, yes, it's a great story that he tells, but this isn't like an autobiography novel. He weaves in teachings about what he learned, like Dharma teachings about what he learned from this complete transformation of his life. In fact, the Dharma teachings, the story about his breaking away from the monastery is almost incidental to the Dharma teachings that he shares in the text. And thus, we get the best of both worlds. We get the best of both worlds. This great story that keeps us engaged, or at least kept me engaged, and learn about stuff and practices and techniques, discoveries of Yongey Mingyur that will help us change our heart, change our mind, and change our heart. So, without further ado, I'd like to share a little bit from In Love with the World. So, the first chapter is called Who Are You? Who Are You? And those of you who have been attending these Monday, Friday classes for a while might have an idea of where this question is leading us. Chapter 1 is Who Are You? Are you Mingyur Rinpoche? And by the way, the author's full name, Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche. And Rinpoche is kind of a title of respect. Okay, Yongey Mingyur. Are you Mingyur Rinpoche? My father asked me this question soon after I began studying with him. when I was around 9 years old. It was so gratifying to know the correct answer that I proudly declared, "Yes, I am," was Yongey Mingyur's response to his father's question. Then he asked, "Can you show me the one thing in particular that makes you Yongey Mingyur?" I looked down the front of my body to my feet. I looked at my hands. I thought about my name. I thought about who I was in relation to my parents and my older brothers, and I couldn't come up with an answer. He then made looking for the real me. The words real me are italicized. He then made looking for the real me sound like a treasure hunt, and I earnestly searched under rocks and behind trees. When I was 11 years old, I began my studies at Sherab Ling, which is a monastery in northern India, where I brought this search inside myself through meditation. 2 years later, I entered the traditional 3-year retreat, a period of intense mind training. So whereas Yongey Mingyur, the 36-year-old abbot who left his monastery, is doing a wandering 3-year retreat, the 3-year retreat he's referring to when he was, 11 years old, 13 years old, is sort of about seated meditation, kind of a more traditional meditative retreat. I entered the traditional 3-year retreat, a period of intense mind training. During this period, we novice monks did many different exercises, each one deepening our understanding of subtler levels of reality. The Tibetan word for meditation, gom, means to become familiar with how the mind works, how it creates and shapes our perceptions of ourselves and the world, how the outer layers of the mind, which are the constructed labels, function like clothing that identifies our social identities and cloaks our naked, non-fabricated state of original mind, whether that outerwear consists of business suits, jeans, uniforms, or Buddhist robes. So, what this journey really is for Yongey Mingyur is a search, the 36-year-old Yongey Mingyur, a search for identifying who he really is. He's going on a journey and undertaking a search with only the clothes on his back to try to identify who or what this real me is. And that's kind of the whole purpose of this book and the whole purpose of this story. It's an invitation, I think, for us to undertake a similar journey, to find out, who am I really? I mean, we talk about labels, and we all have a label, whether it's Sharon or Jill or Nancy or Connie, Carrie, sorry, Frank, or I'll use Zoomers. You know, somebody once said to me, have you ever had a conversation with somebody about name, about your name? I've had a few in my lifetime, and it's sort of like when somebody asks me, do you identify with your name? And I don't know about you, but my answer is not really. Not really. No. I mean, I know that it's my name, but in terms of it being a defining element of who I am, somehow I've got this sort of like vague disconnect with it. I can't really put words to it. That kind of points, I think, in a sense, to the fact that we are not our names. We are not our names. And we're not any other sort of conceptual construct that we apply or others have applied to us. American, mother, father, meditator, Silver City resident, recently become Silver City resident, but used to live in Fort Collins, Colorado. So I guess I'm kind of like sort of at some level, I'm still a Fort Collins person, but now I'm a Silver City person. So I'm in kind of this intermediate state. I'm a good person. I'm an insecure person. I'm a bad person. I'm a guarded person. So we're out of time, but here's our homework assignment for the rest of this text. Yeah. Please examine this question for yourself. Undertake a journey, like escape from your mentally created boundaries and your own sort of like secluded, guarded, tightly controlled monastery. Let's each of us escape and identify, who am I? Who am I? Or what am I? Do a deep, by the way, no submissions are requested for homework assignments. So don't get concerned about deadlines or anything like that. Take your time with this. Who am I? And I want you to please thoughtfully and gently and lovingly identify this aspect of yourself with which you most strongly identify, right or wrong, good or bad, whatever it might be, it might come to a limiting belief that you have about yourself and say, this is the defining aspect of me that I grasp at so strongly. If that's the case, that's a good thing. But there is no good or bad in this, really. Just ask the question, examine it. Who am I? And then we will see where it goes from there. We'll sort of identify if that really is who you are. And I bet you can guess what the answer is going to be. Last little thing I want to share with you guys before we go. Yangye Mingyu writes a little bit later in the text, when we are not constricted by habitual patterns that define how we see ourselves and how we behave in the world, we create access to those qualities of mind that are vast, that are not contingent on circumstances or concepts like labels and names and limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. When we're not constricted by habitual patterns that define how we see ourselves and how we behave in the world, we create access to those qualities of mind that are vast, that are not contingent on circumstances or concepts, and that are always present. For these reasons, we call it the ultimate or absolute mind, or the mind of absolute reality, which is the same as the mind of pure awareness. What a beautiful invitation to go on this journey. Yeah. So there it is, you guys. Thank you. Have a wonderful week. Happy holiday season. And I hope to see you guys on Friday.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bye. Thanks, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Recall the scene. Disney's Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yes, yes, yes. Who are you?
I wanted her to think about it.
It's the question, like, Ed's generation.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Nancy. Bye, Sherry. Have a good one.
I'm still doing triangle math.
On Wednesdays, yeah. I would love it if you did. Good.
See your name. Please forgive me.
Person who just relocated here for 1 hour. But still, that-
My son is in Ridgeway, and then I do still have a daughter in Fort Collins, but then two of my daughters are right here in town, which is exciting. He works in the service industry, actually works up in the ring.
Everybody out there.